Right, hello, good morning, and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. It's the 30th day of April 2024. And by His grace, we're live and we're here. We're at another edition of the show. Our gratitude to go to the Most High God for the very privilege of being alive. And of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making around here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into a panel for the morning's conversation shortly. But let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. Jobs, youth empowerment, my focus. Bawumia pledges as he kickstarts election 2024 campaign. 216 women die from childbirth in Ashanti region. Tourism receipts hit $3.81 billion in 2023, up from $2.5 billion in 2022. Mobile to introduce model for excellence. New Kolebu Nephrology Center ready for operation. There's a special May Day supplement in today's edition of the Daily Graphic. Daily Guide. Anti-gay bill, court shoots down NDC. Youth employment, empowerment is my focus. Bawumia. Wife jailed 6 years for assaulting husband. NPP starts peace talks. Ejisu votes today. The New Crusading Guide. My vision for Ghana will create jobs for all. Bawumia assures. Police investigation reports GITCL are owners of disputed Hacho/Papa land, not for the judge. Secretary Buako roots for NPP PC. Competent, versatile Napo and the enemies within. Joma chief chases Akufo-Addo over 2016 promise. NDC fights government over payments to SML. The Insight. SMG salutes Nkrumah on 52nd anniversary of his demise. $100 million SML scandal. NDC demands retrieval of monies paid and prosecution of persons involved. Land Commission's unilateral assignment of properties gross injustice, says Gandangbe Lands Administration as it vows to defend victims. Law School SRC presidential race. It is Oting. SML deal. NDC accuses Akufo-Addo of attempting to cover up corruption and criminality in KPMG report. Dr. Kwabena Dufo congratulates Professor Nana. The Daily Statesman. I have a solid vision. Bawumia assures impactful leadership. Akufo-Addo calls for increased IDA funding. SNIT. We can meet financial obligation beyond 2036. Man jailed 7 years for cocoa smuggling. The New Finder. 100% local ownership of all new proven natural resource reserves under my presidency, Dr. Bawumia. Margin CEO is Abusian Penny of newly inducted mobile executives. We can pay pensions and survive beyond 2036 NIT. Man jailed 7 years as Cocoa Board intensifies crackdown on smuggling. Daily Post. Mahama warns Akufo-Addo about the election in December. GRA/SML scandal. Next NDC government will prosecute culprits. Sami Jemfi. Betty Moldidrisu criticizes NPP's handling of Dumso, applauds Mahama's approach. Economy Times. Banking sector records 1.6 billion cedis profit in first 2 months of 2024. Banking sector non-performing loans deteriorates. Pensioners alarmed as ILO warns of depleted SNIT reserves by 2036. And that's about it for the front pages. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning, Dr. Kabiru Tiamahama, as a technical advisor to His Excellency the Vice President, and also the MPP parliamentary candidate for the Walewale constituency. Okay, there's a caveat there, but he will explain that caveat to us shortly. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Doc.
I hope so you don't go explain that.
It's unfortunate.
We'll come there soon. Also with me on the show this morning is the Member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency, Alhaji Al-Hassan Suhini. Alaji, good morning.
Good morning, boss.
Right.
I'm sure my brother will explain tire. I really feel sorry for him. I mean, he's a young man with a lot of prospects in his party, but it seems at this very early age, his party is already abandoning him. But I hope that at the end of the day, what is right will be done.
Mm-hmm. Well, does it mean something? No. Okay. All right. Okay, so if you're looking for a toothpaste that will take care of all the family and save money, the recommended family toothpaste is KL 360 toothpaste and is approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. KL 360 toothpaste provides you and your family with all-round dental protection throughout the day with freshness. KL 360 toothpaste is good for kids, children, and adults. Let your family be a proud family when they step out by constantly using KL 360 toothpaste. KL 360 toothpaste brightens your teeth, prevents cavity, and with its cool mint gives you fresh breath throughout the day and protects the gum from decaying. For consistency and quality, use KL 360 toothpaste. KL 360 toothpaste is another product from Samara Company Limited, producers of Sasu, and is available in all supermarkets, malls, and provision shops. Call Samara Company on 0246 864798. KL 360 toothpaste, happy smile. And enjoying the fruits of your labor is as important as enjoying the mansions of your labor. The pains of climbing the stairs when not exercising could be challenging irrespective of your age, but worry no more. Lift and elevators have got you covered with the best the best portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators on the market today. It's a simple self-supported elevator for both homes and offices, and guess what? It can lift your goods too. Wheelchairs can fit in, and they come in 3 custom-made models. It's affordable and can be installed within 3 days. Visit Lift and Elevators at Sakumon or just call them on 0200535515 or send a mail to elevators@gmail.com for consultations and the best solutions in easy vertical movement. Okay, so this Mother's Day, Ignite Media is honoring the incredible strength, love, and resilience of mothers with disabilities. Mothers with disabilities. Do you know a remarkable mother who embodies courage, grace, and determination in the face of disability? Whether it's your own mother, a friend, or even yourself, we want to hear your inspiring story. Nominate a deserving mother by sending your story on how motherhood has empowered you or someone you know with a disability or a special child to Metro TV, Original FM, and stand a chance of winning the ultimate business setup to making your entrepreneurial dreams a reality. The deadline for submission is the 5th of May, Sunday, the 5th of May, 2024. For more information and to submit your entry, contact us on 0244 598 747. 0244 598 747. Happy Mother's Day. All right. Okay. So, Doc, what's happening at Wale Wale?
Well, so good morning to you and good morning to the people of Wale Wale. And good morning to my senior brother, Mr. Sohine. I think that the matter of the election is still not over yet. The last time we had discussion on it, I remember mentioning that it was a matter of court issue. The elections were conducted, duly declared, but a party to the election, which is the current MP, raised issues with the election. Subsequent to that, she went to court. In the course of the court proceedings, there were agreement that we should have out-of-court settlements. We are given some time within which we have to report the outcome. And like I said, it's like we've not made any gain yet because she's still reluctant in her position. And I'm sure and I'm hoping that, cool hair will prevail. She will finally have to give her because time is of essence. I think the people are not so happy with the turn of event, and I'm sure the fact that Wale Wale is even in the news is casting some bad light.
For the wrong reasons.
Yeah, for the wrong reasons. And on hindsight, I'm sure that this whole process could have been abandoned, and we come together and work into ensuring that we win the seat for the vice president, inshallah, by the grace of God, the president in January 2025. So basically, that's what we have. But the more difficult part of this whole issue is that the intransigence of parties in trying to move towards
parties, including yourself.
So far, I must state that I've never been engaged.
But have you tried to engage?
I have tried to engage. I have tried because I have met the MP twice. I remember immediately after the election, I went to her residence. During this Eid, immediately after prayer, I went to the residence again to say New Year, Happy New Year greetings to her. Even I have attempted setting a meeting in Accra, but I'm sure she has not returned. I'm sure because of her busy schedule, that's why she's not giving me an appointment yet. So on my part...
Busy schedule. She's no longer a minister.
So I'm surmising that maybe that may be the reason. So on my part, I have tried my possible best to ensure that we have this issue resolved as well. Because, I mean, we can all go on and on with being, if you like, difficult in our positions, but to what end will it serve the people?
For me, recently, your party issued a statement dealing with all these cases. I remember it was in that statement that the party said that their decision is that Yendi is for Farouk, you know, and all that. What was, I don't recollect whether the statement mentioned Wale Wale, and if it did, what the statement said.
The statement did not mention Wale Wale. And I think
Why?
that, you see, it is like settled, like Wale Wale has a candidate.
Okay.
But someone is contesting the candidate.
But the someone is a party member.
It's a party member. And in that process, even the party is a defendant in that matter.
Okay.
So it even in the optics out there, it may seem that the person is having problem with me, but I'm just the first defendant. The party is the second defendant. And the EC is the third defendant. So basically, the party is supposed to be defended, but in the minds of the party as a whole, elections were conducted, results were presented to the party, these results were duly accepted. So it is so difficult for the party to say that
maybe not duly accepted. One party did not accept it.
I mean, by the party, because the party, you know, elections as conducted, it's not every party.
No, as far as the Electoral Commission is concerned, it's done.
Yes.
As far as the MPP as a party is concerned, it's done.
Yes.
But a party in the election says it's not done.
Yeah, and that is a difficult. And I'm thinking that as a member of that party, you have the right to use every legal means to ensure that your right is enforced. But because you're also in a party, you would expect that when people speak within the party, you would move towards the general position of the party. Let's even assume for a moment that I was the one in court. I mean, the pressure, I'm just imagining the pressure that was going to be on me. The optics out there, people would have just concluded that I'm not interested in the future of the MPP and that basically working against the vice president, working for him directly. But in this case, I am the one in court. And being in court in this matter, I feel like I am a bit hesitant even discussing this matter because we don't want to injure more people in the process. But I think that at the end of the day, look, we need to know that after elections, there's no need to be...
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, for me...
tomorrow is the first day of May.
Yeah.
So we're entering the 5th month of the year. Yeah. You can't have this albatross around your neck. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, basically, I would have thought that in this whole discussion of the propriety of this particular case, I would have been invited to even give my part of the version. But I'm not...
Invited by who?
I'm supposed people engaging her. Because you see, when someone is engaging a party, and the party is advancing her reasons why she's being reluctant to give out, the other party must be listened to even see the merit. And whether or not the party can give a definite statement on the matter of Wale Wale. So that's the angle.
Maybe they don't have a problem with your side. Maybe as far as they're concerned, there's nothing wrong.
That's what I'm also thinking. That's what I'm saying. That's why probably the issue has not, I mean, have not been brought to the table for discussion. But I just want to still appeal to the MP to, you know, I mean, let this issue slide. It's difficult. I know it's very, very difficult. But
is she related to the vice president?
Well, yeah, she is. She is because there's some relationship between her and the...
Has the vice president spoken to her?
To the best of my knowledge, I think the vice president is speaking to her.
And she's not listening to the vice president?
She has not obliged. I mean, once she's still on the matter, I'm sure they've not come to consensus as to their discussion.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep you in my prayers. Elijah, I see you're excited.
What an assurance.
It's a blessed one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really feel sorry for my brother Kabiru, but let me say good morning to him. Good morning to yourself, Randy, and good morning to our viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. I think that the party, in their last outing, should have addressed all these outstanding issues. When I say their last outing, I mean the press statement that they issued to address the issues in some constituencies, including Yendi. I think they should have put this matter to beyond any reasonable doubt. But as it seems now, there is still some doubt, not only on the mind of supporters of our brother here, Kabiru, but also supporters of the sitting member of parliament. And that, for me in the NDC, is a blessing that Wale Wale seems to be in such a disarray. And I have no doubt in the, ability of our candidate, the former regional minister, Dr. ABBEY, well, not a doctor yet, but he's pursuing his PhD, to cause an upset, because I cannot wait for that news, in December when we go to the polls. As much as I admire my younger brother here and I wish him well in his political pursuits, I think it's going to be an exciting race in Wale Wale, and maybe he will have to wait for his senior brother ABBEY to become member of parliament before he also comes back. And it's not going to be through his fault. It's just going to be the way his party has treated him, unfortunately. Because truth be told, I mean, I have a lot of friends who come from Wale Wale. I also, once in a while go there. And truth be told, he's very popular on the ground. And the young people tend to admire how far he has come. And he inspires a lot of them. But the party doesn't seem to recognize that yet, which is good. And I, selfishly will hope that the confusion will continue. Like I said, I am torn. I wish him well. I want him to grow in his political career, but I just want his senior brother, Dr. ABBEY, the candidate of the NDC, to go to parliament before him.
The guys have a say.
Before him.
It's Onyami Agbo in Febo. Onyami Agbo in Febo.
To wait.
For your brother to die is better than you.
Yeah. I mean, so I think that given how far he has come and how well he has been contributing to the party, I don't think that it is fair that he is left in that limbo as far as this matter is concerned. And I heard him just right now, and I felt it when he said that no one is talking
sometimes
to him.
I don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand political parties. Yes. You have rules. The rules are for a purpose and for a reason.
Right.
And one of the cardinal principles behind having such pieces of legislation is, first of all, to determine how we go about things in a group. And two, also, the sanctions regime really is to also serve as a deterrent. Because we know that once things go unpunished, they then become,
they're encouraged,
a motivation for others to do same. Now, you see that things happen and there is a certain level of alacrity in dealing with them, some level of swiftness in dealing with these issues. And then in other situations, it looks like there's a rudderless, thing. I mean, let water find its level. I really don't get it.
I mean, like if you compare this case to the Yendi case, I think that the Wale Wale case was more of a straightforward matter than the Yendi one. Because why? In the case in Wale Wale,
the party might disagree.
That's why I'm saying,
and they'll tell you that
yes,
in the case of Yendi,
yes,
it was within the remit of the party.
right,
A petition had been made
right,
to the party.
right.
Forget about the fact that the Electoral Commission says that the election was not conclusive.
Right.
That was the position of the Electoral
Right,
Commission.
the Electoral Commission.
So
right.
it was left to the party to take a decision on the matter.
Right.
In this case, somebody has gone to court. The jurisdiction of the party has been ousted.
Right.
You understand me? And the
No,
party
so
itself,
so right, that's why
the
I'm saying
party
that.
itself stands the risk of perhaps being cited for contempt.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that in the case of Yendi, the election, according to the Electoral Commission, was inconclusive. Now, what does the laws governing the activities of parties in this country
Well,
say?
obviously, there ought to be a re-election.
Obviously, there ought to have been a rerun in Yendi once it was inconclusive. Per the I can't recall the act appropriately, but the political parties, law. Clearly, there ought to have been a rerun. But in this case,
the party took a political decision.
still took a political decision.
Yeah.
And that political decision, in my view, can be challenged by anybody in Yendi in court.
Oh, yes.
And the challenge can be mounted to the effect that the party has no properly elected parliamentary candidate.
I'm sure recently you've seen
Yes.
a few of the wranglings going on.
Exactly. So I am very certain in my mind that was more complicated to deal with or to take a stand on compared to Wale Wale. Because in the case of Wale Wale,
and
the
you see,
elections
even that one,
yes.
Look at the conduct of the lady.
Yes.
Yes.
The
statement that she issued.
Yes.
So this is a person who says that I'm a party person. I'm going by what the party has said. I disagree. Yeah. I don't think I've been treated fairly. Yeah. But
I'm going with the party.
In the interest
but that doesn't stop any other
I'm
even going to court to still challenge the party's position.
on the conduct of. It is pretty obvious that this is somebody who feels legitimately that she's been hard done by.
Right.
Legitimately, she's been hard done by. This is somebody whose position can even be fortified by the position of the Electoral Commission.
Right.
Yes, she says that in the interest of the party and everything, yes, I have not been treated fairly. I don't think that this decision is something which is right, but I defer to the party.
So, but I'm saying in the case of Wale Wale, a winner was declared by the Electoral Commission. That winner must be recognized by the party.
In fact, the party recognizes...
the party must be engaging that winner.
The party recognizes you as
the winner. But the party must be engaging that winner in settling this matter. But you heard him and I felt it, that no one is talking to me.
No, the party feels that the winner has no issue.
Well...
that who they need to speak with is the person who's going to court.
Randy, I'm not discussing this matter for a settlement. I don't want the matter settled.
Oh, okay. So I understand your angle. Okay. So I understand your angle.
Yeah. Except to know that there is still a window, I'm sure, because we have up to the 23rd of next month to report back to court the settlement.
The court allowed you to go and settle.
Yes, the court during the last hearing actually give the parties the opportunity to come back to the party
for an out of court
settlement and communicate.
So what has happened to that?
That's what he's saying. He doesn't know what is happening.
So far, I have not been engaged on that, but probably because
your signature is not needed.
So they are engaging the other party, and I'm just sure that by the time we return to court, they will have come to an understanding of what.
Hey, she said someone will die. So only tree.
Oh, that perhaps is out of, sometimes when there's that kind of disappointment.
So it was.
Is that Stony Pew?
You go to a house 4 a.m. every day for the next 7 days. Every 4 a.m. be at their door.
Okay. It's a good advice.
Political. I didn't know you have a PhD too in political consulting.
Yeah.
Go there. No way. You go there. Just go and do Ima, big sis, Ima.
That's my auntie. But on a more important, whosoever comes out as the winner, or whosoever is settled on.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that. I'm making the point that whosoever the MPP chooses as a candidate will beat Honorable Abuba. That's the point. That's the point I want to establish.
But still don't speak like that.
Still, the political consulting goes on.
Don't give the impression to anybody that
you're not the candidate.
You can be talked out of it.
Yeah.
But you did allow yourself to be talked out of running, and then you're going to win. Is that when you'll be talked out of it?
Well, he's a party person. Like you have referred to Abibata, who has undergone an election and doesn't know her results.
The man didn't listen when they said
he doesn't know her results.
Yeah, even in the first place, this contest was not a two-horse. I mean, it was not a two-man race. We were 4 contestants, and these 4 people, all of us came in and expressed our interests. At the end of the day, even
so, what about the other 2?
I mean, they all assented to the results.
So they are with you. You're engaging them.
For me, I'm talking. We talk. I engage them, but not on this particular matter as to whether she should take stand with me or against me. My whole position on this is that look, for the result declared, they didn't have issues with the results because their agents.
So they've accepted.
Yeah, they've accepted the outcome of the result. It's just it's just one person.
It's Ima you have to do it. Anyway. Now your candidate, although he's hit the road.
Yes. So the Bagumian Trail has hit the ground running. He started his campaign that herald, the onset of the 2024 campaign. Dr. Bagumia started with the Eastern region, and he concluded the tour of the Eastern region, and he's back to Accra to have some few more engagement before he continues his trip.
He's back in Accra?
Yes, I think there are some official activities he has to undertake, meetings with EU ambassadors and what have you. The essence of this campaign, Dr. Bawumia believes, is to reach out to the people, the market women, the street people, the youth, farmers, and all people from all walks of life. The election, if it's to be won, must be won on the back of the messaging of the flag bearer. And the Vice President had hinted, even from the onset, that he intends to do retail campaign. Retail campaigning in the sense that he wants to reach out to every single Ghanaian as much as possible with his message. The clarity of his vision, the simplicity of his message, the reassuring nature of his message would, if it so resonates with the Ghanaian people, there will be no doubt in their minds that he deserves the crown and he shall be given that crown. But he will not take it as business as usual, because in the past, you found presidential candidates involved in large mammoth gathering of people to, present their messages. But in this case, the Vice President feels like he needs to, decentralize the campaign. But we must also note that aside the messaging, the approach, whenever we are in this season, I remember Professor Adai mentioned about the abuse of incumbency, the abuse of power, where people will have to use high-powered, diesel-powered vehicles, V8, SUVs on the road. You go on a convoy of 10, 20 of those vehicles. The Vice President had adopted a rather novel kind of strategy to campaigning, where he would make sure that every supporter or every person, well-wisher following him, will have to join the campaign bus. And the campaign bus will send us through all this, except where it is hard to reach, where these buses may not be able to go to some villages. Then they will be resorting to limited use of these SUVs or these Land Cruisers. That simplicity, that modesty, that kind of approach resonates with the times, that you don't go as a presidential candidate presenting yourself, engage in conduct that seems to suggest that you are not sensitive to the plights of the Ghanaian people. You are not just even aware of what the times are. So that approach is what we need to commend the Vice President on. The Vice President also approach of reaching out to relevant stakeholders, religious leaders, chiefs, market women, the youth, drivers, that approach. Because you see, the economy is going to be an important issue in this election. Once the economy is going to be an important issue in the election, the vice president will need to have a message telling them that, look, cost of living you have been one of the people ravaged by inflation. That when we have inflation skyrocketing, you are those who feel it the most. We must put in place measures, and we are putting in place measures, and these are the measures we are putting in place to address that. The vice president also, and then you find some of them on the newspapers, on the front pages of the newspapers. Issues of jobs and security of jobs is one of the things the vice president is focused on. How do we create the jobs so desirous of these young people, that young people graduating from the university can have a place to work, not necessarily in the public sector, but how do we spur the private sector growth so that it will be a catalyst to the creation of jobs in the economy? That the vice president is clear, and the vice president is highlighting as one of the areas he intends to focus on. The vice president, adult is, and let me just even a bit backtrack that we've not formally launched our campaign manifesto. And the team working on the manifesto, they are just on the ending part. Committees are putting together their various drafts for the secretariat to synchronize and synthesize all these various parts of the manifesto and present that to the Ghanaian people. But the vice president is giving us, if you like, anchors of this manifesto. What he goes around talking about are actually the cardinal points of that manifesto, that when you have the final draft, you'll be clear in your mind that this is what the vice president was talking about. Aside that, the vice president understands that you cannot come to this election. It's going to be, and if you also read the press statement by the director of communication of the campaign, it's going to be a contest of character, a contest of records, a contest of message. Okay, these three major parts will play very well in the election. And when you say contest of record, the vice president will not run away. And I remember recently he called that he will not shy away from any presidential debate. That when I'm called to account as a vice president, what I was able to support the president to do, I will do that with my head straight, and I will do that without any fear. He's clear on that. So when it comes to the MPP record, the vice president is willing to defend that. He is willing to also admit where the government has not been able to meet the expectation of the Ghanaian people, on the basis of which he's seeking a mandate to come and then finish that particular project. And that is on the contest. The contest of character. It is going to be Mr. John Dramani Mahama against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. A known quantity vis-a-vis a relatively unknown quantity.
Who is the relatively unknown one?
Dr. Bawumia is a relatively unknown quantity.
Okay.
So that personality, the two would have to be assessed by the Ghanaian people, and in assessing them, the Ghanaian would look at, okay, John Mahama as vice president for relatively some 7 years of governance, or 7.5 years, what was he able to achieve? Mr. John Dramani as president for 4 to 5 years, what he was able to achieve. And they will compare that to that of Mr. Bawumia for 7 to 8 years of being the vice president, what he was able to achieve. And they also look at the track record, apart from the track record in government, professional track record, or if you like, the art of the politics. You also look at their personal trait and personal character. Unfortunately, Mr. John Mahama has got one similar character with that of Mr. Bawumia, which is the humility part. That they will square out. I have to give Mr. John, your candidate, that part. But it is clear that Ghanaians will be looking for a leader who is humble, a leader who is not corruptible, a leader who has clarity of vision, a leader who can articulate the vision so well, so much that every single Ghanaian will resonate and move along with that vision. Okay, that clarity. The Ghanaian people will also want someone who is tolerant, someone who will accommodate dissent, and someone who will tolerate the views no matter how hurting those views are, because as a leader, you must move and build a country as a whole, not a section. The Ghanaian people will be looking at diversity, how diversity contributes to national unity, and whether or not the two of these, these two major contenders, they would present themselves with because diversity itself is development, because when you are able to accord people of different background the opportunity to sit on the table, apart from mainstreaming diversity, you are also ensuring that talents that are held by minorities are also brought into the national scheme for the purposes of national development. So the Ghanaian people will look at that. The Ghanaian people will also look at the issue about how revolutionary the policy proposal, because your records is one, your personal conduct is one, but what are the prospects of your policy proposals? The Vice President came in with the idea of digitizing the economy. We would contradistinct that from that of the 24-hour economy that is being proposed by Mr. John Mahama. We'll look at how the Vice President's vision of using the Internet of Things, leveraging on artificial intelligence, and building on the successes check by the STEM education in the educational sector. How do we build that together with the TVET education to make sure that people are equipped with the right skills and with the right tools in order to contribute to development? So that vision will have to also be interrogated. The Vice President will also present, and I was happy when he made a policy proposal in his vision statement presentation about stemming cost of living. And he was hands-on the matter when he said that inflation in Ghana is as a result of three main things: food inflation, housing, and transportation. Dealing with food inflation is not rocket science. Dealing with transportation is not rocket science. That's why he proposed putting together a policy that will ensure that we move towards green energy and make sure that we contribute in our energy mix using solar energy. The Vice President also knowing very well that housing is an important issue. And let me even note, the National Housing Rental Scheme was the brainchild of the Vice President. And that policy has kick-started by the Minister of Housing. And this policy will have to be fine-tuned to ensure that every Ghanaian have a decent home, if you like, a very affordable home. And there have been discussions on whether or not our housing in Ghana are even affordable or social in nature. But given as me, we must look at the cost of construction of this house. And the Vice President has a very clear mind and vision on this particular house. So on the issue of inflation, the Vice President, on the issue of macroeconomic stability, it's a policy proposal. And the Vice President articulates clearly what his macroeconomic and fiscal policy framework is going to look like. He says that we are going to do a fiscal deficit that is benchmarked against the previous year's revenue, just like the central bank government, the central bank law. That strengthening of the Fiscal Responsibility Act is something important, and the Vice President clearly articulates. So for me, when you look at the messaging, when you look at the demeanor and the demeanor of the Vice President, when you look at the records of the Vice President, and you want to juxtapose that with that of the current former president and presidential candidate of the new National Democratic Congress, you will have no doubt as to the choice between the two. Of course, this election is not just also about the records. We may have to look at what is the demography of this particular country, the first-time voters. And yesterday I was listening to the American, the polls by the CNN, talking about the first-time voters. Most of them saying that they were disappointed in the way Biden's administration handled of the Gaza issue. And if you look at that number, as over 70% of the young people, first-time voters, were not happy. Issues of inflation was going to be used as a determinant. Issues of economy was also going to be. And Ghana, I'm not expecting something different. The records is going to be, but I'm also expecting how this government is going to turn things around by now to the end of the year. And that is going to also inform the choices Ghanaians are going to make on this election. So for the Vice President campaign, I think that so far it's been good. So far the Vice President message is resonating. And if I saw some visuals from the Kumasi station in Koforidua, where he interacted with also the magazine, in the way he interacted with some drivers, the euphoria, the excitement, the energy of the people, suggests that the vice president's message is actually going down well with the people. I only hope and pray that the vice president have the strength to continue in this part. And once the vice president finishes this and then announces his running mate, I'm sure the full complement, and by then the manifesto would have been ready. A full complement of the campaign would have been, every bit, every compartment, every aspect of the campaign would have been every puzzle of the campaign will now be assembled, and will now be hitting the ground more concretely. So the campaign has been good. We are happy with the progress. The vice president's message is going on well with the people, and I hope and believe that come December 2024, the good people of Ghana will not have any hesitation giving the vice president, the leader and flag bearer of the new patriot, an opportunity to lead the country and to bring the needed glory we so much desire.
Right. Aji.
Well, Andy, thank you very much for bringing this topic up. I have seen a couple of pictures shared by members of the New Patriotic Party and members of the campaign team of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, suggesting that he has kick-started his campaign. I was just wondering why they chose to start from the Eastern region and whether it has anything to do with the running mate campaign that is also very keen in the New Patriotic Party today. You do know that one of the leading, contenders for the running mate position is said to be from the Eastern region. So when you look at the videos and the campaigns, you don't know if these were organic reactions or they were staged to suggest that someone from that region, in the person of Brian Achampong, may just be a good running mate to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I was just wondering why they chose Eastern region. And if you look at the mobilization that took place to receive the vice president, it could also have something to do with sending a message to the man that I'm your right guy to be picked for this running mate slot. But whatever the decision is, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud is welcome to the campaign trail. The NDC has been on the road for some time now, and he's very much welcome, except that I just want to caution that he should not treat Ghana and its problems like a topic for secondary school debate. The problems that we face as a country are not basically issues that should be reduced to topics for debate and who debates them well or better. Even though I have every confidence in the oratory skills of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, it's not about who debates better. And you do know, Randy, that those who know Dr. Mahamudu will tell you that he was a leading debater in secondary school in Tamasco. Mm-hmm. And so when you see the way he approaches issues, it's as if he has not grown out of that, secondary school way of whether African Union is still relevant, you blah, 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 and you have no responsibility at all. Whether the CD, fundamentals of the economy determines the strength of a CD, you blah, 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 you have no responsibility at all. And tomorrow, if they say you should debate for, you debate for. If they say debate against, you debate against. Because all you have is just to get your points and to be confident about how you articulate those points. It is the problems we face in Ghana today, I repeat, are greater and bigger and beyond being reduced to secondary school debating topics and who debates them better or not. Look, clearly, so far, Dr. Mahmoud has demonstrated that he is going to be a photocopier in this campaign. A photocopier because some of the things that he seems to be doing or saying are things that the opposition, led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, have identified as problems that need to be resolved, problems that he has created together with His Excellency the President, Nana Akufo-Addo. So when you hear the NDC and His Excellency John Mahama say that e-levy is a bad law, then you have Dr. Mahamudu come and say, yes, it's a bad law. Yet, he is the chairman of the economic management team. That is a photocopier to just win an election. President Mahama says the betting law is bad. And he comes to say, yes, I'm the economic management team chair, but yes, I agree, it's bad. And yet, he is still sitting in cabinet with His Excellency, the President, the one who introduced these policies. You have His Excellency, the President, John Mahama, say, the size of government is too large. I'm reducing it. He's in government, sitting in cabinet, taking decisions to increase the number of ministers that are appointed, and yet on the campaign trail, he photocopies again. Yes, I agree, the size of government is too big. And so I also intend to reduce the size of government. Yet he's sitting in cabinet and taking decisions with the president to increase the size of government, even when the government has the opportunity to reduce the number of ministers. They fail to take that opportunity and rather, are still appointing new people because the positions are treated like toffees. So every region is entitled to a certain set of toffees. So this one, as for this slot, is for Ashanti region. These slots are for Eastern region. And these slots are for Central region. So it doesn't matter whether the country require those ministers to be at post or not. It must be given to that region. And so it is their entitlement. He sits in cabinet and he takes these decisions with the president. But he comes out on the campaign trail to say, oh, the size of government is too big. And so I'm also going to do something about it. His Excellency, the former president and inshallah the next president in 2025, John Mahama, goes on a building the Ghana We Want tour. He started it in the 2020 general elections. That led to the People's Manifesto. And what did Dr. Mahamudu say at the time? Go and check the records. When His Excellency John Mahama was embarking on that retail campaign to pick the views of the ordinary people, he said John Mahama lacked ideas. And that the NDC lacks ideas. And they have their ideas. The arrogance to suggest that wisdom resides in the head of one person. That was what he said about the retail campaign that the NDC was embarking upon. But now that he has seen that it is resonating well with the people, he, in a self-serving, manner, claims to be embarking on a retail campaign also. Again, a photocopy, like I said. So clearly, he is going to reduce himself to being a photocopier in this campaign, and he is very much welcome. I'm not surprised that despite the wrangling from Eastern region, like I've already suggested, and Ashanti region for his running mate slot, there seemed to be a force that is also growing to get him to choose a female as his running mate. Only last week and this week, I have watched press conferences from the Ashanti region calling for Frema, the chief of staff, to be picked. I've also seen others calling for Natoshi, the District Assembly's Common Fund Administrator from Greater Accra, to be picked. Others have said that, they equally have women of substance like Oslo Owusu, Natoshi, and Frema, but they are not supporting any of these women. But they think that he must choose, a female. So, in this photocopying skills that he seems to be embarking on in an attempt to deceive the people of Ghana to get elected again, I will not be surprised if he succumbs to this pressure again and choose a running mate, but a female running mate. But that again would have been another, pace that has been set for him by his senior brother, John Dramani Mahama. So clearly, he is going to be a photocopier in this campaign because he has demonstrated it so far. E-levy, he's copied. Betting tax, he's copied. Size of government, he's copied. Building Ghana tour, he's now on it, even though he suggested that anybody who embarked on such a tour lacked ideas and that they had the ideas already that they were going to use to transform Ghana. Now he's faced with the choice of choosing a running mate. It's very possible that he will also go for a female running mate. And my brother here says that it is going to be a contest of personalities. Yes, I agree with him. And it's also going to be a contest of their records. And he identified a number of issues. He said it's going to be about diversity. It's going to be about tolerance. It's going to be about vision. It's going to be about the clarity of, stating those visions. In terms of diversity, the NDC over the years has proven that it is the most diverse party in this country. And that is why the NDC, even in defeat, wins in most parts of this country. In most parts of this country. The NDC on record, even when it is losing an election, tends to win more regions than the NPP. So clearly, the NDC is a party of diversity. It is embraced by the rank and file of, or if you like, citizens from all walks of life in this country. It is not, concentrated. Its support base is not concentrated in 1 or 2 or 3 regions. It is a diverse, a group of people that have come together to form the NDC. So as for diversity, it is with the NDC and it is with its flag bearer. And His Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama, has demonstrated this in so many ways. And it is not surprising that in that diversity, you find him choosing a female running mate for the first time. For the first time. No major political party like the NDC or the MPP has ever, done that. He's done that. And even as president, it is clear. I mean, the caliber of people that he appointed. The first time we had a physically challenged person, in government was under His Excellency President Mahama. So in terms of inclusion and diversity, I mean, that is what he represents. When you talk of tolerance, I know no man in politics today in Ghana that is more tolerant, and it shows, than His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I mean, just imagine the insults, the ridiculing that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia led others in the MPP to heap on him. And not once have you ever had him respond in like manner. Not once. Ridiculing, insults that Dr. Mahamudu led the MPP to heap on him. He laughs about it. He jokes about it. And he even in that, what you expect him to feel as pain, rather cautions and advises him as a younger brother and tells him to be good, of good behavior. And perhaps it's because he grew up with him and he knows that he wasn't like that until he joined bad company. And so he is able to tolerate it. So when it comes to tolerance, I mean, not under President Mahama did you have journalists being chased out of this country. His Excellency, the Vice President, is sitting there. And you have him, and his government engage in acts that put every journalist that dares, to put its government or to demand accountability from its government at risk. Every journalist that dares to demand accountability from this government is at risk. You can speak to Anas Amiao Anas and his team. You can speak to Manasseh Azuri. Speak to the Media Foundation for West Africa and others. Even members of civil society organizations have clearly confessed, not once, that it was safer under President Mahama to criticize the government and that he was more tolerant of divergent views. That his government, because his whole disposition was what, manifested when he was the president of this country. And even out of the presidency, he remains that tolerant. And then he talks about vision. And apart from the vision of President Mahama that has saved this economy, even in its very terrible shape as we find it, in the area of health, in the area of, even reforms, economic reforms, GIFMIS and others, I want to use the same example that he used about digitalization. I mean, how do you miss the fact that no digitalization can take place in this country without the fiber optic cables that were laid across this country by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama? How can you miss that visionary decision he took to lay the most fiber cable across the country? How can you miss that visionary decision and talk about, digitalization in today's context, in today's Ghana? How can you miss that visionary decision of the National Data Center, of the Accra Digital Center, of the e-government services that were started by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama? How do you run a digital economy without these foundations? And so clearly, the vision in the health sector that was championed by His Excellency President Mahama speaks for him. The vision that was championed by him in the digital economy space speaks for him. The vision that he espoused in education till date is still, something that many people appreciate. And clearly, that is the reason why the people of Ghana have come to the realization that we sold our color TV for a black and white TV. And when it comes to communication, everybody knows that the clarity that President Mahama comes with can only be dismissed by, a chronic hater, for want of a better word. Because listen to President Mahama when he addresses the economy. And you know that he's not speaking from a textbook, but he's speaking from the textbook point of view mixed with the experience of handling the day-to-day running of the economy. Listen to him address our challenges in the education sector. And you know this is a practical person who appreciates and understands the issues better. But like I said, Dr. Mahmoud is welcome to the campaign trail. Unfortunately, he has a lot of questions to answer to the people of Ghana about his tenure as vice president in the last 7 to 8 years. And he was the one, again, who led the NPP in the 2016 general elections to argue strongly that President Mahama had spent 8 years at the presidency and that there was no need to keep him there after 8 years. He made that argument substantially. And that if he had any idea at all, within that 8 years, he should have implemented those ideas. And when we challenged that President Mahama was only at the presidency for 4 years, he reminded us that the vice president position was also a very powerful and influential position. And so once he served as vice president for 4 years and as president for 4 years, he had spent 8 years at the presidency, and every idea he had could have been implemented to transform Ghana. Same will be expected of Dr. Mahamudu. He has spent 8 years at the presidency, and all the ideas that he claims to have, if he was minded to implement them or to help his boss to implement them, they would have been implemented to transform this country. So he's done 8 years, and just like he suggested then, it is time for him to also pack with his boss so that this country can enjoy a fresh breath of life.
All right, okay. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Still with me on the show, I have Dr. Tia Mahama and Alhaji Al-Hassan Suhine. But what does wealth mean to you? Do you want to live like a tycoon? Remember, us got the Mullah, got the power. Ghana's newest lottery game draws live on Adom TV at 9 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. daily. Now pick up your phones, tablets, and computers and download the Game Park Games app on Play Store. You can also play on the website at www.gameparkgames.com or by dialing star 946 hash on all networks. Just choose 4 numbers from 0 to 9. It's easy to play and easy to win. Chalema will play this game and make some Mullah. Nobody beats our odds in Ghana. Game Park Games, more Mullah, more power. This game is regulated by the National Lottery Authority and is not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Ayesuku, that Kosombo dam be big, but Betway's cash out be bigger. Betway is giving you more control over every thrilling bet you place. Enjoy the biggest and most reliable cash out in Ghana on Betway without any hassle. Sign up today at betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Not for persons under 18. It's regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more. And Blue Jeans energy drink has been on the Ghanaian market for over 20 years. We already know what it does for the body. It contains vitamins and nutrients like vitamin B2, B3, B6, B12, as well as taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and energy as well as promote high performance and endurance. Blue Jeans energy drink has been tested and tried. It's indeed the best. Blue Jeans energy drink is for bold and active men and women. So go on, grab a cold can and power your day. It's in shops nationwide. For bulk purchases, contact Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208-128-190 or 055-001-0000. And this Mother's Day, Ignite Media is honoring the incredible strength, love, and resilience of mothers with disabilities. Do you know a remarkable mother who embodies courage, grace, and determination in the face of disability? Whether it is your biological mother, a friend, or even yourself, we want to hear that inspiring story. Nominate a deserving mother by sending your story on how motherhood has empowered you or someone you know with a disability or a special child to Metro TV, Original TV, Original FM, and stand a chance of winning the ultimate business setup, making your entrepreneurial dreams a reality. The deadline for the submission is 5th of May, Sunday, the 5th of May, 2024. For more information and to submit your entry, contact us on 0244-598-747. 0244-598-747. Happy Mother's Day. All right. Okay. So, Dr. Kabiru, I have a small question for you, and then we'll go on SML. Alhaji Suhine's party held a presser yesterday, but there is a question I need to, I like to tap into expertise, so I will want to find out what is really happening. Now, you will not agree when I say that we declared bankruptcy, but that's what we did. Okay. So we have a DDEP, which means that our number one expenditure, which is about interest payment, had been suspended. And as we speak, especially the external component, we are not servicing any debt. So debt servicing is no longer the number one expenditure item. Yet, the city has crossed 14 cities. I mean, we always were told that a lot had to do with our debt servicing and then, of course, importation. But now debt servicing, which is the number one expenditure item, is no longer there. Yet, the city is 14 because, so it says the Ghana city weakened further against the US dollar and other major currencies as corporate demand soared. Its year-to-date loss hit 13.35 as of yesterday, and is presently being quoted at an average of 14.10 to a dollar by most forex bureaus, and it lost major ground against the euro and pound. Last week, the central bank sold $30 million in the spot market, though it could not keep the local unit afloat as the cedi ended the week shedding 0.90 week on week to the dollar. The cedi also trimmed 1.3 to 1.54 against the pound and the euro. And at Interbank, the cedi gave up 1.10 against the dollar, some gains that it had made in the past. And the Bank of Ghana plans to sell 20 million to BDCs in the 51st auction. Analysts expect this auction to soak up some forex demand on the market. Nonetheless, they expect the prevailing corporate forex demand pressures to weaken the local unit. So what's happening? We are not paying our debts, yet the cities cross 14 cities. What's happening?
Yeah, so, Doc, you will also agree that even there are several factors. Of course, interest payment is one of them. And once you hold interest payment not moving and the other factors are moving, then you expect the cedi to still depreciate. So the fact that external servicing of debt, that's also to suggest that we are not servicing debt and that they are not Ghanaian domestic dollar-denominated facilities that we are servicing. We are still servicing that. But we are just saying that there's a moratorium on the servicing of external debt, which is what is in abeyance, if you like.
So we are not paying?
We are not paying.
Yes.
But the other factors still...
We've not been paying report, since November 2022.
Yeah, the report clearly states that corporate demand source. Now, the question is that what are those corporations demanding the dollar for? One, for the importation of product. Two, for probably those that have their accounts domiciled as repatriation of profit. For instance, if we are doing operation and we want to send our money back, they have to go and then change it to dollars and go on. So these factors still persist. And also because there was a watered down of the goal for oil program following the IMF engagement about the sustainability of it.
Watered down? What do you mean?
For instance, the government plan was to scale it up, increasing the volumes that are coming through the program. But the IMF also raised issues about the sustainability and the inflationary impact of such measure, because you are basically pumping also more cedi into the economy. So there were issues to, as it were, and you recall when the governor of Bank of Ghana said that they want to sustainable, if you like, face it off, that particular program. That even suspension had called for the vice president to call a meeting to re-examine how they can still go on with the program. So that temporal, if you like, watering down of that particular program, because we are not increasing volumes through the program, through the goal for oil
But
program.
we still do it.
Yeah, government is still implementing that. So that actually also caused some problem. And the major driver of this one is the fuel market. Anytime you have the prices of fuel going up, you will also have to change more dollars in order to go and then buy the product. So that is actually accounting for. But if you also look at the movement of the cedi from 13 to 14 Ghana cedi, the movement is not quite unusual, because that has been the normal, and I've always insisted, I've always argued that until we get, and it's not even possible. I don't see how it's possible within the next 30 years that we have our cedi appreciating against the United States dollar, when it's a vehicle currency. I've always argued when it is also the most dominant currency across the world, when Ghana cedi is the only cedi demanded in Ghana. I don't see that. But you always have to control the ties so that the rate of depreciation is not going to be like we experienced the 54% at the height of the crisis. So for me, the explanatory factors to this is the fuel market. That's the major.
So if we were servicing our debt, where would the cedi have been?
Yeah, so if we were servicing our debt in the first place, I'm even sure if we were servicing our debt, the 54% reduction would have persisted. You get what I'm trying to say? Because that was the heat of the crisis, and that also made us to, for instance, put on hold. They have been debt standstill. But if we're still doing servicing of our debt, and without corresponding resources for us coming in, for instance, our trade position has not balanced. So if we're assuming that our trade position was going to be constant, and you are not raking in more revenue, you are just servicing with the currency. Our currency would have been a junk currency now. But we're just based on the assumption that nothing was going to be done by way of foreign exchange coming in, assuming that we'll not get any, receipt from our fuel and from our gold. But
we are still getting the receipts. Gold contributed about almost 8 billion, 2023. Yeah. Yes, we're still getting the receipts from fuel, from oil. We're still getting them
we still
anyway.
get them. But I'm saying that we are assuming that what we are getting would have been the same okay, whilst we are servicing debts.
Yes.
Okay, but my argument is that, yes, if that was the case, then we would have found our city in a very dire situation. Because, mind you, the city is also stabilizing, because whenever you have our money coming to our reserves, for instance, the IMF funds, when it comes, it shows up our foreign exchange position.
For 1 week.
I mean, for a relatively some time.
Yeah, for a week.
Yeah, relatively some time. And because this issue of depreciation of currency is much more driven by expectations than the actual demand. Because, I mean, if I'm expecting the city to depreciate in the next coming months, I will go and change all my currency to United States dollar, hoping that I'll cut down my losses in the event it reduces the value. So that, I think that the debt standstill is helping. And from a purely technical point of view, I feel like, but for that program, we would have been in a very difficult situation with our currency. That admission has to be made. And that admission is also born out of the fact that, but for that, we wouldn't have gone for the debt standstill.
Are we clueless about this? Are we clueless? Because it appears like, first of all, the issue of the DDEP was inevitable. We were bankrupt. We couldn't pay our bills. And so the only option left, in fact, government said that was even not an option. If we want, I just don't want us to go back into those things. So it meant that every single strategy that we are spoken about and we are deployed failed. And therefore, we had no option than to go and take this. Now, irrespective of this, we have crossed 14. You know, we've crossed 14. Don't forget that whilst it might have helped us not to get to 20, there are also repercussions with the fact that we have that. I don't know if calling it a standoff is a correct expression with our external partners.
Yeah, it's a
yes,
standoff.
you know, that also has its implications, you know. But it sounds as if we're clueless. And listening to you explaining, and I don't disagree with you, listening to you explain, it appears like there's nothing we can do.
No, I mean, there is something we can do, but what we can do are sometimes not immediate. And once you have an immediate crisis, you may have to look at remedial measures to use to actually stabilize, like a patient. When you are rushed to the emergency, you have to be stabilized before they can probably try to administer a medicine that can cure your sickness. So there are things we can do. And we all agree that those things, until they are done, until we increase the real sector.
So why haven't we done that?
We are doing that, but it didn't take one nation, a day, a year, 2 years to do those things. It's just that for me, I feel like we are not consistent with our measures as a country, not just the government, but as a country, we are not consistent with our measures. And we don't have a consistent policy direction. For instance, 1D1F is a policy. Have we been able to make sure in the unlikely event there's a policy change, such a policy is going to continue? Okay, these are the things that will help us build on foundation upon foundation to get the structure right. But once we don't do that,
we must first be convinced that the 1D, 1F policy is not a slogan, but is indeed a policy which is rooted on firm grounds and which has clear objectives, and that those objectives are being met. So I have asked this question 1 million times here, that if it is about import substitution, what is the result as we speak? If it is about job creation, what is the result? So you bring in policies, there's an objective behind introducing a policy. As we speak today, nobody is speaking to the real issues.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that as a policy, maybe there must be consistent assessment and routine update of the people of Ghana on the impact of such policy. That will get us all the necessary buy-in from every Ghanaian. But where I see it from even a casual look, going to the United States and finding the products of our 1D, 1F on the shelves in the United States market, I feel like there is some exportation. And I also, if I juxtapose this with the fact that at a point you have consistent trade surpluses, or what do you call it, balances, current account, positives, you can also reasonably attribute some of these things to that. But it's not the only factor.
Today, I don't want to engage in an intellectual or whatever. I have a terrible headache. But you see, I always speak about form over substance. Yeah. Even without 1D, 1F, you could find Ghanaian products everywhere. Yes. My issue is that if we even speak about trade surplus, if you drill down the data, you find out that it's on the back of oil and gold. You would see that. So you can clearly tell the contribution. If even they say industry, you can drill down to the subsectors in the industry and find out whether indeed it is 1D, 1F. So for example, if it's import substitution, what has been the contribution? If it is even food inflation, even if for internal consumption, food inflation, how has it contributed? If it is about jobs, how has it contributed? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
so that's where I
perfectly agree with you. But I'm saying that, you see, we can go to the numbers and discuss. And once you have a chunk percentage of your foreign surpluses attributed to gold, that may diminish the role, say, exportation of fruit juice would have played. But take away the fruit juice component, you realize that maybe it will have reduced by 0.1%.
So do you know how I want to look at it? I don't even want to look at the consolidated figure. If, for example, and I've used this example many times, if we were importing, let's say, 50 tons, or let's say 50,000 liters of fruit juice every year, I don't want to use values for now.
Yeah.
Because pricing can have. So if we're doing, like, say, 50,000 or 500,000 liters a year, and then as a result of 1D, 1F, it has reduced to, let's say, 40,000. Then you can say that maybe in the 5 years or the 6 years, this is what has happened, and therefore there's a need to even ramp up. So we are demonstrating that we have the capacity, we can ramp up and thereby save ourselves X amount of money. You see? Yeah. But that's not what is happening. The fact that there is some juice which is being sold somewhere and it's as a result of 1D, 1F, or there is some juice that we saw at Lidl, which is as a result of a 1D, 1F, is not a basis to say that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I think that it is not sufficient basis to say that 1D, 1F is a success. But we cannot say it is not one of the bases of saying that the program may be successful or may have some successes. Because we need to be candid with the issues here. We have sufficiency of that particular metric. It's not, I agree with you, it's not. But to say that it is not necessarily a measure, it's also problematic. If we talk about jobs, the Minister for Trade comes to tell us that over 160,000 jobs were created consequent to that. People raise, is it really true? Where are those people? Those questions will be asked. But for me, it's not in those details. In those details, we'll have some settled view on whether we should make it a national policy or not. But I think that there are some few successes chalked that we must look at and see whether or not we can build on that. I agree that once the issue becomes political question, it's difficult for my brother or any person in the NDC to then admit that this policy is helping. But if we delink the politics from it and we try to look at it from that particular analytical perspective, try to assess this impact measurable, then people can say, okay, it has reduced importation by 1%. If we scale it in the subsequent, maybe it will reduce it by 5%. And once we have that consistent policy, we can stem this issue about inflation. So it is not just this measure. All measures about government, they mention of Atuabo all the time. And last time when I commended the Mama about this liberation exercise, it became news. But when you have a power plant set up to address power situation, that is at the heart of your economy. That is at the heart of the productive sector of your economy. That in itself is a foundation which you use to have a stable currency. But once you still have remnants of power outages ongoing and all, you are basically eating into any reserves you are having because you are paying, also this agreement, you are paying all the money to foreigners. So these are the foundational issues that I think that we all need to address in order to get firm hold of the currency. And a more important issue is about public policy. Once we are exposed, once we are borrowing from outside, you will always be exposed. Hikes in Federal Reserve rate will have repercussion on your economy. But if all monies in this country were deposited, there were this culture of savings. Savings creates wealth. Government borrows from this domestic market, use it to undertake infrastructure development, setting the foundation right. I'm not sure we'll be so much exposed from the threat coming from payment or servicing of debt. So all these things are issues that I think that we need to build on. It doesn't take a day, it doesn't take a year, it doesn't take one government. And now even Mr. John Dramani Mahama once said that you cannot build a country in 4 years. Okay, that somehow is right, because looking at the time horizon and even look at even medium-term development plans goes beyond four years. Now talk about even long-term development plans. It goes even beyond the tenure, the 8-year mandate that will be given a president. But until we have that attitudinal and institutional structure framework be in place, detached from the politics, this currency issue will come back if we are still alive in 50 years to be discussing this same matter.
All right. Okay, let me bring.
But also on the issue about ECO,
Yes.
the drift towards a West African monetary zone, and also having a unified currency system, even though we are still battling with the convergence criteria of single inflation, of zero central bank government, central bank borrowing to central government. All those convergence zones, criteria have not been met. But that issue will also widen the market size. And once we have a single currency demanded widely by many Africans, and you can use it for trade, inter-African trade, it will also reduce the pressure of demand of the United States dollar and also free us from this particular inflation ravage, depreciation nature of our currency.
Right. Yes.
Andy, for I think about 6 to 7 years now, one of the hashtags I use a lot on social media has been the word clueless. And so I heard you asking if we are just clueless. And I think the answer to that is yes. We have been clueless for a very long time. And the effect of our cluelessness is what we are all going through today. It's the cluelessness that has led to the corruption, the greed that you see all around you. And it is that greed and the corruption that has led to the mounting public debt. Randy, the public debt is the problem. Is the reason why even when we are unable to pay the debts, the cedi continue to struggle with the dollar or other foreign currencies. It's the public debt, the unsustainable public debt that has all been used for consumption. And through the consumption, a chunk of it has been siphoned. And I'm happy you said we'll be making time to discuss SML. It's one of the very many examples of how we have lost money, hard-earned Ghana cedis, that could have been invested in areas and sectors to save us from the economic mess that we find ourselves. And it is as a result of the cluelessness and the corruption that makes me conclude that the dishonesty of this government tends to even be more annoying than their mismanagement. Because we see the cluelessness and we see the corrupt acts all around us. And yet the stories that they tell suggest to us that we are just yo-yos, like we have no brain in our heads. Look, this public debt is what has led to the economic uncertainty all over. And so investors are all holding back. Businesses that are already operating are deterred when it comes to expanding their investments because of the economic uncertainty. And the uncertainty is as a result of our inability to manage the debt. And we all know that these debts, when they were being accumulated, were not pumped in productive sectors. And it is the reason why we are unable to pay. I mean, even commodity prices that could have come as a way of cushioning us, because if you look at the world today, the gold, the price of gold, cocoa, and others are going up. We are in arrangements that do not impact us positively. And that is why Cocoa Board of all institutions is heavily indebted when it has no reason whatsoever to be in debt. And so, even though cocoa prices are going up, it has no impact on our economy and cannot save our city because of the arrangements that we went into initially. So really, I sometimes fear for the day the frog will die. Because our people say that you truly appreciate the length of the frog or the toad after it dies. And so with the evidence that we are not paying our debts, yet we are unable to manage the relationship between our cedi and the dollar, I dare say that the reasons you and I may be proffering today may even be less grievous than the real reasons. And that is why it is important that we all do what we can to kill this frog, quote and unquote, so that we can truly appreciate the depth of our problems and begin remedial steps. Otherwise, look, we will just be in this country one day and some people will come and tell us that it has been sold to them. We no longer belong here. Because where we are going, I initially said that you could reduce our problems to just 3 E's: economic, education, and environment. But, Randy, it seems every sector you closely pay attention to, you cannot miss the crisis that awaits the next government to resolve. You can't miss the crisis in every sector. Look at the economic mess, and you think that is the worst that the next government will have to deal with. And then you turn your attention to education. No textbooks, only past questions. We don't even have a reliable timetable. And all we are thinking about is painting school blocks and changing their uniforms. Of all the problems that our educational sector is faced with, how could painting school buildings, changing the color of the paint of school buildings and uniforms, be a priority? So you think the economy is the worst that the next government will face until you turn attention to the education sector and you wonder which one the next government should prioritize in terms of fixing the problems that we are faced with as a country. As for the environment, we are all living witnesses of the devastation caused to our forest reserves and our water bodies as a result of, again, the greed of leading members of this government who are championing and leading the mining in our forest and our forest reserves and water bodies. So, I think that the problem that we face today is that we have a clueless administration in office that preached competence and its ability to manage the economy using textbooks theories in the past, but haven't been handed over the job every step of the way. Their cluelessness.
Okay. So the Fourth Estate had a documentary. Fourth Estate with Manasseh Azure-Awuni. They had a documentary on a contract given by the GRA to SML, in which they made some very, very serious allegations. The president referred the matter to KPMG to do an audit. KPMG presented its report. The president has not published the report of the KPMG, but has issued a statement in which it informs us of some key findings and then recommendations by KPMG and also government recommendations. There's been a lot of calls by civil society, media persons, including myself, for the publication of the KPMG audit. I think that will deepen transparency, and it will help us all appreciate the issues and even to determine whether KPMG did a good job or not, because SML itself has taken KPMG on and says that it disagrees with KPMG and all that. I don't know if they are also disagreeing with KPMG on the basis of what the president published or whether they have a copy. And I think that everybody deserves a copy of that report. If for nothing at all, the Fourth Estate that actually did the expose also deserves a copy. All of us, it's become a national issue. We need a copy of that. Yesterday, the NDC held a presser on this particular issue. But later in the day, Bernard Avler on his show, Point of Views, on City TV, also had Bryce Simmons from the CSO space, who was also Vice President of Imani, who has also analyzed this issue and spoken about it in detail, together with an official, a director of SML, on his show. I want us to watch excerpts of what happened and then the NDC presser as well. Then I'll take your views on this issue.
On one hand, and the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, on the other hand. These acts of corruption have arisen out of the award of certain illegal contracts by the ruling MPP government, acting through the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance. Thanks to a patriotic investigative work carried out by one of your own in the media, an illustrious son of the land, Manasseh Azure-Awuni, and his colleagues at the Fourth Estate, the underhand and shady dealings between the GRA and SML have been unmasked. Following huge public angst against the putrefying details of the Fourth Estate's expose, coupled with mounting calls by the NDC minority in Parliament, civil society organizations, and you, the media, President Akufo-Addo tasked KPMG to conduct an audit into SML's dealings with the GRA. After initial reluctance to make public details of this audit, the presidency last week published only portions of KPMG's investigative report on the matter instead of the full report. But the portions of the published reports have nonetheless raised several grave matters that border on naked corruption and abuse of the public purse. After a careful study of the Fourth Estate's report and the published portions of KPMG's report into this matter, we deem it necessary to highlight 15 incontrovertible facts about this stinking SML scandal, which are worth interrogating. Number one, SML was incorporated on 14th February 2017. This was barely 37 days after the MPP assumed the reins of power on the 7th of January 2017. The stated capital of the company is 10,000 Ghana cedis, and the paid-up shares of the company is 10,000 Ghana cedis. The shareholder and chief executive officer of the company is one Evans Edusei, who owns and runs Evans Timbers Limited. So these are the brief facts about the company we are talking about, SML. Number two, Barely 4 months after the incorporation of SML, the corrupt Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government, acting through the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance, sought to engage SML to provide transaction audit services at the port through sole sourcing. Between June 2017 and September 2017, the GRA made 3 separate requests to the Public Procurement Authority to engage the services of this 4-month-old company through sole sourcing. All these 3 requests were flatly refused by the Public Procurement Authority. Number 3, all these requests to the Public Procurement Authority happened at a time this 4-month-old SML, an offshoot of a timber company, had no prior experience in revenue assurance or transaction auditing. It goes without saying that GRA's request for approval to engage SML through sole sourcing were refused by the PPA because the request did not meet the mandatory requirements of Section 40 of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 663. Number 4, in furtherance of their questionable and unholy determination to engage SML through sole sourcing at all costs, the GRA, with the tacit approval of the Ministry of Finance, I must say the Ken Oforiatta-led Ministry of Finance, engaged SML through the back door as a subcontractor of a company called West Blue, which at the time was providing transaction audit services to the state at the port. SML was made to take over the transaction audit services of West Blue in December 2018 when the latter was kicked out. Subsequently, the GRA added external price verification to the contracted services of SML. Additionally, the GRA signed an agreement with XML for auditing in the downstream petroleum sector. We are talking about this company which only got registered on Valentine's Day, the first Valentine's Day after Akufo-Addo and the NPP became president.
We have only shared things that we think we gave evidence to that they should represent us, for instance, with our form. So when we load the products and come to use it, but we don't return the tax to government, then there is revenue loss to the state. So this has gone on for a while, and it's gradually, swiftly becoming a national security issue. And there was a need to plug in this leakage.
As determined by who?
EY report speaks to this. RACE speaks to this. Seaboard report speaks to this. So there is a need, because, look, the two authorities, NPA and GRA, both authorities in the downstream, they don't have meters. They rely on the depot meters for their reading. And when you go to any system where controls are strong, you have a main meter and a check meter to check the accuracy of what the main meter is giving. But we didn't, before SML, that was not happening.
Okay.
And GRA saw that, look, we are losing revenue. The report that EY has brought is saying this and this and this, because can you show me the data gap?
So you have a data gap analysis?
I have a data gap analysis that I brought.
Sorry, but for which particular service are we referring to? There are about 5 things: transactions audit, external.
This is the downstream petroleum.
This is downstream petroleum.
Yes.
So is this okay? So what is petroleum. This data gap between lifting volume MP and taxable volume GRA?
Yes. So when you look at this is before SML. In 2019 to April 2020, we started our operations in May 2020. We piloted in May 2020, and then we started June 2020. Now, if you look at the data before SML's operation, the lifting volumes, the first one, January 2019, you have 417,509,071 liters. Let's look at what went into the GRA system. 237,690,910.
Who is giving you this data?
This data, the NPA data, is in the NPA system. When you go to the website, yes, the NPA data is the NPA data, and then the taxable data is the Bank of Ghana data. So let's just be clear, the blue... To let them know. So this is a letter that Mr. Tampole is acknowledging that we like the initiative that you have taken, GRA, by the GRA to install electronic metering system at the depots.
I see.
The authority, however, would like to be appraised on the functionalities of the electronic metering systems. We therefore hereby request for closer collaboration between the two authorities, that is NPA and GRA, so as to avoid duplication of efforts in our attempt to sanitize the petroleum downstream industry. This is signed by Mr. Tampole.
So your point, let me just your point is that NPA by this letter acknowledges a need to GRA.
Yes. They all have a need. They don't have meters. NPA don't have meter. GRA don't have meter. And we are selling petroleum products.
I see.
So GRA says, and NPA, if you look at the data I showed, the NPA loading data has always been within the range of 400. 400 has never had that. They've always relied on another person, NPA system for their data. So they need data independence for them to be able to fully...
You recognize on what you're saying that it means that GRA cannot trust MPA. If MPA, you're saying that MPA is reporting that this is the volume we traded, but GRA is getting a lower volume. And you're saying that this letter...
One is the need. This is the revenue leakage that we have come to bridge the gap.
I understand that.
Yes. But the money issue.
Yes.
Please, can you show us?
Let's take a breather. We'll come back. I want to.
It's a very technical subject, so ideally you should have extended the program. I'm not sure if that's transparent, meritocratic processes. And what we've now established is that somehow, as soon as this company was formed in February 2017, by May 2017 thereabouts, it already was being presented to the PPA for single sourcing. What does single sourcing means? It means that there's no other company which has your unique competences. Now the argument has been made that, oh, you can simply assemble people tomorrow. And as soon as you assemble people tomorrow and you have the competence, you deserve a contract. That's not how it works in corporate governance. And you know that. You have an MBA. It's the capacity of the individuals versus the capacity of the company. The culture you set up, your compliance history,
so your track record
as a company is key. So the fact that you can find experts around the world, assemble them together, does not necessarily automatically mean you have a track record. Once that was done, I think if they can bring my slides back, once that was done, the PPA, even though we often argue that PPA tends to be pliant to politicians, in this case, 3 times they said no. Then the company was introduced as a subcontractor. Obviously, because the contract, until the time it was ratified in 2023, had not received PPA approval, KPMG established that the contract was illegal up to that point. The argument is that the contract has now been ratified. The truth of the matter is that that does not give retrospective legitimacy to all the illegality that have been conducted. Secondly, KPMG establishes...
So everything before ratification, in your view, is vicious?
Is illegal.
All right.
To pay my taxes over a certain period, and they cut you a deal. Tax volume in the country will reduce because we've cut a deal with you. Right? That does not necessarily mean you've under-declared. So anybody trying to fight under declaration or any attempt to any fraud in the system must not use gaps that are absolute gaps to say that this is the gap that maps to under declaration. They must not also say that, because this volume moved from 5 liters to 20 liters, all that 15 days due to me catching people who are going to try and steal. Next point.
All right. So that's what you've shown here.
No, next slide. Sorry.
Go to the next slide.
Okay. Now here is a fascinating kicker. In 2022, what you are looking here is we have something in this country called the annual tax revenue report. People like us, we read this for pleasure. Every time it's released, we go and read everything. Okay. some people that are not familiar with policy analysis in this country may not be familiar with this document.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the number, you can find it at
page 38 of the 2022 annual tax report.
When you read here, it tells you that special petroleum tax collections in 2022 total 2.24 billion, down from 2.34 billion in 2021. And this represents nominal negative growth. When you check it in negative real growth, it's 26%. Why is that important? Two things. One, all the numbers that Ms. Asapon was giving to you, she does not account for inflation. You understand? So she thinks that if we got $1 billion last year and this year we got 2 billion, automatically there's an increase in the amount of money government is receiving. No. Because of inflation and stuff like that, the money account, the value of money changes. So what they have said, which is said negative real growth, is to show you that during the period that SML was working, there were periods where we were recording significant decline in the amount of tax we were collecting for this category, SPT. Now, what that tells you is if we are not careful in the way we design the performance benchmark, then a time will come, we'll have to build them. We have to say that if it goes up, we give you money. Then if it goes down, you have to give us money. You understand the logic? Okay, now go to the next one. The next one looks at it not for special petroleum taxes which are applied at the depot,
but petroleum taxes
which are more downstream. And there too, do you see that there was another decline? And here to have given the page.
2.27 to 2.19. Nominal negative of 3.6.
Have you seen the real negative growth between
25%?
The two? Okay. So go to the third slide and let me show another dynamic. Here is another levy.
Energy debt recovery levy.
Have you seen the decline, the real growth, the negative?
Again for the 2 years.
But see the negative, 20-something percent.
26%.
Okay. You see how massive those numbers are?
Yeah.
Go to the next one. Let me show you something. What you have here is the deviation as I described it for most of the key taxes. Everything you see in the circles, curly brackets, are the deviations. What you see on the right stream is the absolute deviation in percentage.
And then right is the percentage.
Have you seen that for sanitation and pollution levy, which are very small amounts of money, you saw some increases, but for almost all the big ones, you saw some decreases. If it was just all fuel like that, how come tax can increase on some and some can go down? It's because those things I was telling you that are heterogeneous effects.
So we have to take it.
It's not a joke. It's a serious analysis.
You don't lump everything together.
Then you can also see the difference in the targeted amounts and the actual amount that was got and the declines over the 2 years, right? 2021 and 2022. Go to the next one. Let me make my.
By which time they were still working?
They were working throughout all that period because they were working from 2020, as we said to you, to now. What you should also establish is the fact that the money that you've been mentioning here, the 1 billion cedis, which we can't establish, but which KPMG says, and for now we are using the KPMG report. So on matters of fact, we accept that. SML was the biggest recipient of money in the entire energy sector from the energy taxes. This is a distribution, and this is all Ministry of Finance reports, which I've given to you. So your team should be fact-checking in real time. You will see that.
What period is this?
This period is 2021, 2022.
Okay.
No, this is 2016 to 2022.
All right.
You will see that the different taxes that are distributed among them. Go to the next screen. You find that the amounts involved are far lower than what we paid to SML alone.
I think it's the previous slide. Now, it's the previous slide.
The previous slide. But I'm saying that the point is straightforward. The amount of money that we've paid to the key agencies, VRA, ECG, and the rest, out of taxes per year, compared to the about 200 and something million per year that they are receiving, is lower. And that's
volume, the one that ended up in the tax system.
I see.
Which GRA says that I'm supposed to get the same as loaded at the depot. If I'm not getting that, then the difference.
Let's not have this interference. It completely confused my listeners. What I'm explaining is that there are two different things completely.
Yes.
One is that some people come and load at the depots. They don't pay tax. That would automatically create a gap between MPA data and GRA data.
Okay.
Why they don't pay tax is a matter of enforcement and compliance.
You've established that point.
Very good. Second, and that one, I think your discerning listeners understand that point. The second point is that because some of the fuels, as you can see, have different types of taxes on them. Whenever you look at you always see a variance between some of the
taxable
and the taxable
also
volumes because of the nature in terms of
that's also clear.
I also established that there's some trading in the region.
Yes.
So sometimes fuel that is declared to be used in Ghana, all of a sudden they have to be exported.
So that it's not even taxable.
It's differences in the volume between the two. We've also established that the issue of differences between what taxes go into the government account and this one is due to the fact that some of them were not paying taxes.
Yes.
And MP is now harder on them.
Yes.
We now look at this very fascinating situation that you are looking at. No, they've already done this.
Go to the next slide. You explained this already.
The under-declaration burden is not the total gap, as you've established, right? If you come to Ghana right now and somebody goes and does a deal with GRA that actually, you know what? I declared losses because my depot got bent. I have all manner of issues. So I want to do a deal to pay my taxes over a certain period. And they cut you a deal. Tax volume in the country will reduce because we've cut a deal with you, right? That does not necessarily mean you've under-declared. So anybody trying to fight under declaration or any attempt to any fraud in the system must not use gaps that are absolute gaps to say that this is the gap that maps to under declaration. They must not also say that, because this volume moved from 5 liters to 20 liters, all that 15 there is due to me catching people who are going to try and steal. Next point.
All right. So that's what you've shown here.
No, the previous slide. But I'm saying that the point is straightforward. The amount of money that we've paid to the key agencies, VRA, ECG, and the rest, out of taxes paid.
All right, so you watch excerpts of the press address by the National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, yesterday, where he lists the 15 big points about this SML deal, and of course what the NDC is demanding and what they intend to do when they win power in December. And then you also watch the excerpts of yesterday's edition of Point of View on CTTV with Bernard Avle, where he had the representative from SML and, of course, Bright Simon's Vice President Imani. Sweeney.
Yeah.
How do we resolve this matter?
We can only resolve this matter by demanding the full report of the KPMG. When we get that report, what I'm even told is that we should be careful about which of the reports we get.
Why?
My information is that there may even be more than one KPMG report.
Yeah, but KPMG has a reputation.
Exactly. That's
so
why I'm saying that.
If a report,
that's why I'm putting it out
If a report is released by government
and it is
not the report, I mean, they have a reputation. Yeah.
And they keep quiet, that would be hurting their reputation. But you know, Andy, I first heard of SML in 2020.
Okay.
That was when I was preparing for the vetting of the then finance minister, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. And
so this should be 2021.
This was 2020. In fact, that was after the elections, December 2020, after the elections. So I was preparing for the vetting, and one of the people I was asking questions about was the finance minister. And a source told me that this company, SML, was for him.
Was for who?
Ken Ofori-Atta.
But the facts don't support that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm saying I first heard of SML.
Okay. So that was the allegation.
That was the allegation. Okay. So I did some background check, and I didn't find his name in any of the documentations. And that the source was telling me about how fraudulent their operations was, and the amount of money they were getting paid GRA for no work done. The only thing I saw was an article where the finance minister had gone to the company to engage them on their operations. So that was the only article I saw that linked the finance minister to the operations of this company. But I put it to he engaged in his official business. But he was actually there in June 2020 actually. He went to visit the company in June 2020 to oversee their operations. So if you check his vetting in 2021, it was one of the questions I asked him, whether he knew about SML and whether he had anything to do with it. Fast forward,
What was his answer?
I mean, at the time he said he didn't. He just knew it as a company working for the GRA.
Okay.
Yes. Now, fast forward, we all have seen the details thanks to the investigative work done by the Fourth Estate, led by Manasseh Azure. And the president's, intervention that has led to the KPMG report that is kept under the armpit of the president. But even what he has chosen to share with us, Randy, is loud enough about some of the, very dubious things associated with this contract. Randy, this is a classical case of create, loot, share. In whatever way you look at it, a company created in March 2017 offered to PPA as a specialized company to do this transaction. When it was even registered as a timber, operating company, all of a sudden, with specialized skills to do revenue assurance. Thank God the PPA didn't yield. And yet, the government still went ahead, even without the GRA board approval, to grant the contract to this company. That must be a very special strategic company indeed. No board, a GRA board approval, PPA declines, and yet a company that was set up to do timber in a few months' time is specialized enough to carry out revenue assurance for the GRA and paid 1.6 billion Ghana cedis within the contract.
1 billion.
1
billion.
1.6. Okay. I would not told you it's 1.6.
No, the KPMG report says 1 billion.
1 billion.
They disputes that.
Disputes the 1 billion, yes. Well, the initial report was that they saved government about 3 billion and got. I mean, can you even imagine that? So you save government 3 billion and you take 1 billion. Like, what kind of contract arrangement is that, Randy? And yet you cannot even show evidence of how you saved government 3 billion. There is nothing to show. And the most interesting part also is the leadership of even this company, Randy. The man was the technical advisor to the GRA boss. And then immediately after this company is set up, he resigns from his post and he becomes general manager of SML. I mean, the whole story surrounding this fits into that, phrase that was used some time ago: create, loot, share. Like, it's a classical case of create, loot, share. They just created this company out of nowhere and gave it this deal. And it takes me to a story that I personally also chased. Randy, the contract between McKinsey and GRA.
That's also revenue assurance.
That was also revenue assurance. And it was to run from 2018 to 2022. I asked parliamentary questions on this. First of all, McKinsey is a foreign company. And there's no record that Article 1815 of the Constitution was followed in this transaction, because that was entering into a foreign transaction. But Parliament had no knowledge whatsoever of this deal. And yet the GRA engaged the company and paid the company $18 million. That's in today's Ghana cedi about 250 million Ghana cedis. And as part of the requirements in the contract, McKinsey was supposed to help GRA to increase our revenue year on year by over and above 17%. At least that's what the contract expected the McKinsey Group to do for GRA, to increase revenue year on year over and above 17%. Randy, within the period of their operations, records that the GRA itself has published on its website showed that year on year revenue rather went below the figure that it used to be and below 17%. So, for example, in 2015, on the GRA website, year-on-year growth of revenue was 29%. In 2016, it was 25%. In 2017, it was 21%. In 2018, when this contract was signed, it came down to 16%. In 2019, it was 16.5%. In 2020, and that was the last data, it was 4%. And yet, McKinsey has been paid in full $18 million.
Right.
Yet, one of the ways to measure its performance was for GRA to increase revenue year on year.
But even if you look at the historical data,
yes,
you can see a trend that every year increases by X. So if you're bringing somebody,
that person must be able to demonstrate how it has impacted that growth.
Okay. Doc, help us out.
Everywhere you look,
help us out. I have this one from Ben Mensah, who's an auditor. He says that as an auditor, I'm sad. Our dear country is swallowed in corruption. The audit report clearly shows a total disregard for the procurement laws of the country and a cleverly designed scheme to steal from the government. Where is the Attorney General and law enforcement agencies of the government? This scheme by SML will not work without some civil servants and political actors' involvement. KPMG is an internationally recognized auditing firm. We should take this matter seriously. We need a full audit report and full disclosure of scope of the audit.
No, SML issue is one that even among the civil society organization, there seems not to be consensus as to whether or not it was properly engaged and whether or not they performed their role. But just to step back, to know that SML is not a new kid on the block. Such an arrangement, such a system has been in existence. We have GCNet doing similar thing. We had ICOMS doing similar thing for the port. And when SMS was engaged, at the time, it was based on this particular precedence of companies partnering government for where government lack capacity, especially GRA, to complement their capacity. Now, questions have been raised as to whether or not it was properly engaged. From the KPMG report, clearly, government accepts the report of KPMG, noting that it was not properly engaged. Thrice or twice, single source sourcing was requested, but it was rejected. SML was later engaged as a subcontractor, right, to West Blue. And on the expiration of their contract, they became the substantive revenue assurance entity for the GRA. Now, we have a report that we contest whether or not they really performed their role or not, because all this confusion is born of the fact that there was no clear performance indicators given to SML, where it will be clear, the metrics of, it will be so clear that these are key performance indicators, so that we can measure. But what we have disagreement on the revenue, we can come to the volumes. But there we will not have so much disagreement, because people can attest to the fact that revenue of GRA will always move.
Yes.
People will argue that inflation and, for instance, depreciation of kerosene, if you are dealing with dollar, would move. But with the volumes and the discrepancies between volumes, between the inception of SML and now, will clearly speak to the picture. And the KPMG report, if we must take it, in his totality, it shows that there was at least 1.7 thereabout.
Now, where is the
millions
report?
of. I'm coming to the report.
Yes.
We'll talk to the report.
Okay.
Was at least there was increment in volumes. Let's not even talk about revenue, because we know that once volumes are increasing, consequently they will have increase in revenue. Now, governments receives KPMG.
Should we also consider the historical increase in volumes of petroleum products in the country?
No, we can consider, but we have to look at the gap.
Yes.
The gap that has been filled, because always there will be what you call under declaration of quantity. And that is what...
And whether the gap that has been filled was on the basis of that work.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that will integrate. But once you have revenue, I mean, volume being under-declared, we are not talking of revenue because Bryce Simon brightly articulated the fact that people can go and cut, deals, and that people can go into arrangements for non-payment of taxes. All those,
or even the fact that some of these products are not meant to be consumed here.
Yes, I mean they are supposed to be onward transmissions. That those bound for outside the country, they are all parts.
Yes.
But once we established that there was under declaration of volumes, because there were no proper electronic metering management system. So to call, and that was what was used by SMLs to detect this under declaration of volumes, we can say that somehow SML has performed a role. But my worry is whether or not that role played by SML commensurate with that of the work or but that of the money being paid to them. And the president accepting the report of KPMG clearly agrees with the fact that, look, this company was not properly so engaged in the first place. And
so why are we not holding anybody responsible for the procurement breaches, the engagement? And I say so because in this country, an electoral commissioner and other commissioners were removed from office for procurement breaches.
With constitutional immunity.
There are people who were sent to jail. Some are still in jail over procurement breaches. How come the president's statement only highlighted the fact that, yes, these procurement breaches were raised. We recognize them. End of story.
Yeah, so...
but let's move on and look at other things.
The issue I have with the law is that they mentioned in the report that, one, they were rejected. Once they were rejected, they didn't engage them. It's not the case that PPA declined the request and then GRA went ahead to engage them.
They did.
No, they didn't.
They did.
No, let me explain. Now, it was, they had an arrangement where SML is engaged as subcontractor to West Blue. Subcontracting arrangements are not within the purview, it's either West Blue. My guess is that West Blue engaged.
So let me illustrate something to you, Doctor. Let me illustrate something to you. When public office holders attempt to give a contract to a company, and we know the history of a company, a 37-day-old company, and they try over a 2-year period, 3 occasions, the PPA does not grant them that. And then they go through the back door and get a company that has an existing contract to subcontract that role to this company. When that contract, the main contractor's job comes to an end, then they give the contract to this company that they had unsuccessfully tried to get a PPA approval on 3 occasions.
I said the story.
And had used a back door to get an existing contractor to subcontract. And then give them the contract without a PPA approval. And after 2 years, now go to the PPA. In fact, give them a bigger contract. And now go to the PPA to go and get an approval, a ratification for that bigger one. What does that tell you? What does this story tell you?
This story,
same actors, same political actors. What does it tell you?
No, this story, and as the position of the president on this matter is clear, that this was hugely or purely irregular engagement. Okay, the president admits
corrupt, not irregular. Use the proper.
It's not corrupt because we have not been able to impugn any. We can only smell remnants of corruption around such an arrangement.
Yeah, but Doctor, I'm telling you that we have sent people to jail for breach of procurement law. We have removed an electoral commissioner
with constitutional immunity
for breach of procurement. We didn't establish that she stole 1 CD or she benefited 1 CD or she caused financial loss.
Doc, I'm with you on this issue that wherever we have an established fact that someone has breached our procurement laws, the penal consequences associated with that breach must be applied. I have no issue. The government as a whole, we have no issue about that. And anyone raising that issue is germane. But prosecution of sin will have to be based on the cogency and the veritable nature of your facts. Okay, to the extent that we are not having hands-on on the full complements of the fact, any any suggestion that prosecution should go is valid, but as whether or not that will be successfully prosecuted is another. But my major concern about this whole issue is that government is not in any way agreeing with the act of GRA under the period in review. Government is not saying that by this report, government is not saying that there was total nothing wrong. If there was nothing wrong, government will not accept the recommendation of KPMG and asking the GRA to take measures to ensure that those recommendations are implemented. If the KPMG had requested a termination of the contract and impugn criminality.
But it's not KPMG's job to impugn criminality. It's not their job.
KPMG is not to prosecute criminality, but they can impugn criminality. It's not
audit firm. It's not an
if they have told you that KPMG has told you.
A forensic audit of an exercise is an exercise to find wrongdoing in an operation.
Dr. KPMG, from what you just said,
wrongdoing is that
KPMG has demonstrated to you that on 3 occasions, your appointees tried to get PPA approval for this 37-day-old company. PPA said no way. KPMG has told you that when they didn't succeed, they went behind to get an existing contractor to subcontract that service to the company. They've told you that. They've told you that when that company's contract ended, they gave this contract to this company. Now they didn't go back to the PPA again. They even ignored them. Then after 2 years, they decided to give this company an enhanced one, our minerals and our upstream operations. And then they went there, and now with their 2 years or 3 years experience, use that to now get a PPA approval. What else should the auditing firm show you? What else should they tell you? What else do you need to determine that there were people who were determined from day one?
They have determined the wrongdoing. Let the criminal investigative bodies take it up and determine the crime.
Their recommendation act, we should wait, we should ask. And I'll join the call for the full audit report. Okay, I have no issue with that. But KPMG's relevant recommendations and findings have been highlighted. But look, let's also create a sense that the fact that KPMG, or SML was incorporated in 2015. So therefore, it didn't qualify. As part of the processes, they can pool the experience of individual consultants for an organization to form the basis of the experience of the company.
In fact, you should also publish the PPA's reasons for not approving it on 3 occasions.
That's what I'm saying, that the reasons profiled would have to come. And I will agree. Look, I agree with the PPAG, and they did the profile. And PPAG, for all you know, is also a government institution. So we cannot, on one hand, saying that government is, complicit, trying to create a sense that government is complicit, and on the other hand, trying to behave as if PPA, Public Procurement Authority, is a different body from government. There are different arms of government working, and once one arm or one's body or one sector, one agency within government misbehaves, so to call, you may have to call that institution out and let them take responsibility for same.
Yes.
Okay. And here in this instance, we are looking at GRA operation and whether or not their conduct surrounding the whole SML issue was born out of good faith, and whether or not their conduct was amounted to a breach of the public procurement law. That we agree that the contract was properly procured, was improperly procured. That admission has been stated by the KPMG. Government has accepted this.
And when government accepted it, what did government do?
Government went ahead to ask for the implementation of the recommendation
the same government that has sent people to jail for breach of the procurement law.
That's what I'm saying, that if there is any person we can hold to call, that this person, and KPMG said that ABCD breached the procurement law, so therefore we are requested that government should take appropriate measures. That's the end of KPMG. That is the end of their work.
Okay.
If we have such a finding in the report and government is not taking that on, then we may say that government is engaged in
government does not need, like I said, it is not KPMG's job to tell government that prosecute A or B. That's not their job.
I'm not saying they will ask for. The point I'm making is that it is KPMG's job to find out, because they are.
But I've told you that they've what we are speaking to is because of at least what we have been told that is in the report, and on the basis of that, they've done their job.
And I'm saying that if you have a contract being regularized, okay, it is winning with the law. Okay, it is one thing not doing something within the law, but regularizing an irregular contract is part of the law. So one cannot just sit down to say that because the contract was irregular and has been regularized, you then say that Chinchina we must prosecute for the time that it was irregular. So that's what I'm saying. We need to draw the fine line between the time that the contract was irregular and the time that it was regularized, and whether that regularization took effect from the time that they were engaged, or it started from the time that the starting point of engagement upfront.
Okay.
So if we are not able to determine that, you cannot say that government should go ahead to prosecute something that has been regularized.
When are you publishing the report?
That is within the president to determine. The president's it is his right to.
You are just a mate of the driver's mate. Anyway. Anyway,
I think the Media Foundation for West Africa has.
Yes,
and before even that, even the Rashford Jampo of the NDC is supporting the operation.
Rashford Jampo of the NDC
is supporting the.
Rashford Jampo is not.
Oh, really?
At least for what I know.
You see,
which word?
It's a political science lecturer.
Oh, okay.
This country.
So at least
Rashford Jampo will help you to come to power.
I'm just
all
saying.
of a sudden,
why did you refer to him as Rashford Jampo of the NDC?
Of late, he's speaking for the NDC and Mr. John Mahama.
But that's very unfair.
No, that's
I'm saying that's
with the he knows that he speaks for Mr. John Mahama and the NDC. We all know. It's public knowledge.
So he speaks. He used to speak for you. And
I'm not.
Your NPP.
You just said that.
So prior to 2016,
you just said here that
when he expressed his views,
was Rashford Jampo an MPP member?
I'm saying that when he expressed when he expressed his views and he coincided with the MPP, was he an MPP member?
If you are not accepting him as a member of the NDC, let me rephrase.
No.
Rashford Jampo of the civil society organization.
Oh my goodness, you people are
okay.
I didn't know that you were also.
Oh, they are all in the same category.
What?
Their private life can be so different from their political.
No. All right, but so let's go. Let me do this. We need to go. Let me say a big birthday to a member of the GFA Executive Council, who's also a director of Brekum Chelsea Football Club, Nana Safo-Odro. Today is your birthday, so happy birthday, Nana Safo-Odro of Brekum Chelsea, and also a member of the Executive Council of the Ghana Football Association. Happy birthday to you, Tiger One. And it's also the birthday of a sister of ours and a friend of ours, Rosamond Ayoko Hammond, popularly known as Yokos or Yokosi. Today is your birthday. Happy birthday to you, Yokos. Happy birthday to you as well. So, gentlemen, thanks for joining me. Up next, Metro Sports.